Hey mamas, you are listening to the Motherhood is Ghetto podcast. We all know motherhood can be a beautiful thing, but girl, it can also be ghetto. Join me as we discuss some of the best and worst parts of being a mom raising kids, all while trying to figure out this thing called life. This ghetto is a safe space, mamas. So welcome to the hood. Hey mamas, welcome back to another episode of Motherhood is Ghetto. My name is Joy, and how y'all doing out there? If y'all doing all right, you already know what to say. Say amen. I pray you're having a great day and a great week so far. And y'all, we are ankle deep into summer vacation for the kids. And one thing that I want to mention that I forgot to mention on the last episode, but I wanted to say it because I'm just so proud of them. So after school let out, report cards came out, right? And I'm happy to report that everyone did such an amazing job this school year. Everyone came home with amazing grades, and I want to give a special honorable mention to first Genesis. So Genesis completed her first year of high school, her freshman year, all while playing volleyball and being part of the dance team. She was able to finish her first year of high school at a 3.1 GPA. So I'm super excited for her and super proud of her because she was juggling a lot. She was juggling a lot. And then at the end, towards the end of the school year, she was the manager for the freshman boys volleyball team. So that took up a lot of her time and attention, but she was still able to get her work done, turn in assignments, and pass all of her classes. And she attends a magnet school, so she has more classes going on than the average bear, and she goes to early bird classes, and we getting up at 4 in the morning, getting ready for school. I'm taking her to her bus at like 5:30 in the morning. So this year was very, very rough on her, but she was able to excel with flying colors, and I'm so proud of her. She did that. Amen. And also too, I want to give an honorable mention to Solomon. So, if you guys have been listening for a while, back in December, right before winter break, I changed his schools. I moved him to a different school. So we moved schools right in the middle of the school year. And I'll admit, when we got to the new school first, it was a little rocky. He was, figuring his way out, like getting his footing. And there were some classes that he was struggling in. So we, we had some classes where like he was getting some D's and some F's, but we don't do that in this household. Amen. So, he was going to after school tutoring and doing extra assignments and stuff like that to pull his grades up. And by the end of the school year, he had all his grades up, no D's, no F's, all A, B's, and C's. So I'm so proud of him because he's come a long way. Amen. And I'm just so happy for him that he had a first great year of seventh grade, at least for like the second half. So I'm happy about that. And then of course, Jahari, he's like my little baby genius. So he excels at everything he does. So of course he brought home all the good grades. And also too, he was on the basketball team this past school year. And also too, he's been grinding and working really hard on his or not his podcast channel, his YouTube channel. And he recently just got monetized on his YouTube platform. So I'm so, so proud of him. I'm so, so proud of all my kids. They're all amazing and they're doing amazing things. And I'm just a proud mom right now. Amen. I cannot be prouder of these daggone kids. So I just wanted to say that really quick before we got started with the episode because I didn't get a chance to say it the last episode. But I hope you all are having a great day and a great week so far. Thank you for tuning in today. Um, so today's topic, if you haven't already read the title of this podcast, we're going to be talking about what to do in this time while you're single. So if you're a single mom, or also too, like if you're not a mom, like if you're a single dad or you're just a single person in general, you don't have any kids, I think this can translate across all those facets. Um, because, as you guys know, I was married for a really long time and then I wasn't. So these past years, like I've had time to sit in singleness and really be single really for the first time in my adult life. So, I feel like I've learned a couple things. Amen. I feel like I've picked up on a couple things that I want to share with you guys that I feel that's really important to do while you're in a season of singleness. And just in the spirit of transparency, I do want to let you mamas know that at the start of this year, I did decide to open myself up to dating. And first thing I want to say is one, I'm glad that I did because I was super nervous about it. I wasn't sure if I was ready or not, but um I ultimately felt in my heart that even though like I was completely okay and completely content with, being by myself, being single, all that stuff, like I was okay with that because I had learned to enjoy my own company and I had found my sense of self during my season of singleness and during my season of widow life. And I came to a point or a realization within myself that I didn't want to be by myself forever. Like I do want companionship. I do want someone that I can share ideas with, talk to, communicate with, bond with. And of course, like my babies are here and I got them. And so it's never a dull moment. But we're speaking more so as like adults and that adult connection that I feel like we all need sometimes. And I decided at the beginning of 2026 that I was going to open myself up to that and not close myself off anymore to the idea of dating or the idea of getting to know somebody new. So, right out the gate, I ended up connecting with someone, and ultimately, now officially, we are boyfriend and girlfriend. But we'll dive into that at a different time on a different episode. Amen. But I just want to mention that in the spirit of transparency. So that's why I'm coming to you guys with these things that you should do while you're single, because all these things that I have on this list, and yes, there's a list. I'm finna pull out my iPad, and when I pull out my iPad, I done wrote some things down, amen. But everything that I have on this list is what I did during my time being single. And I felt like it was really helpful as I went into this new relationship and started, this new journey as being someone's girlfriend again. So, with that being said, we're going to get into it. So, these are the things that you should do while you're still single. Do these things if you haven't already, because I know the mamas that listen to my podcast, y'all are smart. Y'all use your noodles, amen. So, but if you find this helpful in any way, don't forget to share it, like it, all the good things, amen. All right, mama. So the iPad is out. So now the first thing, and I've already talked about this. So if you haven't already seen my episode, it's called Stop Deprioritizing Yourself. I'm going to link it somewhere over here in the air so that way you can reference that video. But the first thing to do while you're single in this season of singleness, when there's nobody and it's just you and you're trying to figure things out, the first thing that you should do, or one of the things you should do, is prioritize yourself. Prioritize your mind, body, and spirit. So, what that means in general is don't put yourself on the back burner. I know that when we're in relationships, and especially once we get out of them, all the time that we spent pouring to our partner or our boyfriend or our spouse, now all of a sudden, all that time, attention, and energy is now free. So you're free to do with that whatever you want. And what I wouldn't and I don't want for you is for you to put that time and energy into something that's not going to pour back into you, or jumping right into another relationship just because, like, you don't want to be alone. So, use that time, that extra time that you have now and that extra energy to pour back into yourself. Prioritize yourself, prioritize your mental health, prioritize your self-care, and just don't put yourself last. Don't even put yourself second. Like, you come first. And that's even if you do have kids. But we're speaking from the perspective of mothers. So put yourself first. Don't neglect yourself just because you're no longer in this relationship. All the things that you were doing while you were in the relationship, getting your nails done, getting your hair done, making sure you got a wax, shave, all that stuff, making sure like you're praying daily and you're eating right and you're sleeping, all that stuff, keep doing that. Amen. Keep doing that as if your partner is still here and still with you, because that's not just for them. Amen. It's for you too. So, all the things that you are doing to pour into yourself, please do not deprioritize that. Keep doing that. Keep loving on yourself even in your season of singleness. Amen. Okay. And the next thing you should do while you're single, or while you're still single, amen, because we're not claiming singleness forever, okay? So the next thing you should do while you're still single is enjoy life with your kids. Amen. Um, Intentionally plan dates and outings with your kids. So I'm not just talking about taking them to the park and then going out to let them play and then you're staring at your phone the whole time you guys are at the park. Like, plan intentional dates and outings. Plan fun things that will be fun for them and for you, so that way you enjoy the activity with them. This is the time where you can really pour in to the quality time that you spend with your kids and really do like meaningful things that they'll remember for a lifetime. And then also too, like memories that you guys can look back on and that will, fill your heart with happiness and joy when you guys reminisce on the things. And it doesn't have to be anything super extravagant. It doesn't have to be like a fancy trip. It could be a picnic in the park with your kids where you're 100% focused on them, like no screens, no phones, and you guys are just genuinely enjoying each other and having fun and having conversations and playing and all that stuff. Like, and I know for me, when um, some of the most memorable moments that I have with my kids, and some of the moments that I look back on the most, is when we were doing things like that. Like, we're at the park and I'm on the grass sitting on a blanket and watching them play, and they run over to me and they tell me something, or they tell me a funny joke, or we're at home and we do a movie night and we're laughing and we're clowning and we got popcorn, and it's just a really fun time. Those uninterrupted, undistracted moments with them truly means the world to me. And I think that our bond and our connection got a whole lot stronger when it was just us. And I had that time to focus solely on them, Like, and it's still that way today. Like, still when we spend time, like I'm locked in with them. But during my season of singleness, like those were the moments that truly mattered the most to me. And I know 100% that that helped to strengthen our communication with one another, our mother daughter, mother son relationships, like all that, all that um had a positive outcome. So yeah, I wouldn't skip that, mama. Like if you if you haven't been already like carving out, intentional quality time with your kids where like you're locked in, they're locked in, you're doing activities that are fun for you and them, then I highly, highly suggest it. I highly suggest that you start doing that if not already. Amen. And then to piggyback off that, while you're having fun with your kids, like make sure to have fun yourself. Whatever you do or did that made you happy. So not you and another person, just you. Make sure you do that and have fun and keep doing that in perpetuity. Don't stop. Keep going with that because that's going to again, like be one of the highlights of this season of singleness is the amount of fun that you were able to have even in this season. So don't skip out on the fun, mamas, please. Okay. And the next thing you should do while you are single is identify who you are outside of a relationship. So in other words, build your sense of self. So find out who you are if you're not a girlfriend and if you're not a wife and if you're not a partner. Like figure out who you are truly on the inside. And this was huge for me. This was huge for me when I was first widowed because I didn't know what else to be besides a wife. I didn't know how life was like to not be somebody's wife, to not belong to somebody. So I had a really rough transition, y'all. I had the most roughest transition you can think of because I was so used to checking in with someone. I was so used to like coming home to someone, having to like have conversations about certain things about the house, the kids with someone else, figuring out things with someone else. And when I didn't have that anymore, I was like, oh, okay. So like, it's really all on me. Like I really am, I'm that person now, like for real now. And it was scary. And then there's the other things like going to bed and waking up with no one next to you and all that comes with that. And I truly had to figure out like who I was if I wasn't a wife anymore. What did that mean? What would life look like for me? And it was a very rough transition for me. It took me a long time to get used to the things that I was doing when I was a wife and then abruptly not having to do those things anymore. It was rough. But I found that I found that what helped me the most is just sitting down with myself and figuring out like who Joy really is, who Joy is if she's not any of the things, like not even a mom. Like who am I truly? Like what kind of dreams and aspirations did I have before the husband and the kids? What drives me, what motivates me, what keeps me going day in and day out. So those were the things that I had to look at and take stock of so that way I could move forward in confidence in my new life. Because let's just face it, like when things like that happen and relationships change, people leave your life or whatever the case may be, it changes your life on some level in some degree. Whether it was a short relationship or like a 16-year relationship like mine was, it doesn't matter. It changes you. It changes your life. It changes what's going on. So we have to be able to adapt and we have to be able to come back to ourselves at some point and be able to identify who we are and what things are important to us and what life means to us if we're not, you know, a girlfriend or a spouse when we don't belong to someone anymore. So with that, building a sense of self, I feel like we got to learn to enjoy our own company. Amen. We got to learn how to be comfortable with being by ourselves and just doing things by ourselves. So if you normally like would go out on dates and stuff with your partner, take yourself out on a date. Like get comfortable with doing things on your own. That's the only way that you're going to get confidence and be able to build that sense of self is if you're able to enjoy your own company and not be scared to do things alone. And also too, with finding your sense of self, it gives you the grace and the space to be yourself unapologetically, right? Now, not to say that you couldn't be yourself in your relationship, but you can truly like see like who you are aside from that identity, aside from being so and so's girlfriend or so and so's wife. Like you really get to be truly yourself and do the things that you want to do without having to take anyone else's considerations or reserves into account. And I mean that in some ways could be seen as very liberating, very freeing. So I wouldn't want you to cheat yourself out of that experience either, amen. So I think that's another important thing to get to that place like where you have like a strong sense of self. Amen. Okay, and this next one is good. So if you haven't been locked into the episode any part of the time, you do lock in right here, amen. Because this is going to be very important. And this is something that I did to a T. Like everything I wrote down is everything that I did. And it's so important, y'all. Please do this while you're still single. Okay. So the next thing is to strengthen your routines, finances, and stability. Amen. So we're going to touch on all three of these things. So first of all, strengthen your routines. So establish realistic routines that move you and your life in a positive direction. So if you didn't have routines before while you were with someone, start some routines now, amen. And not just like the regular, like get up, go to work, come home, put on Netflix, go to sleep. Like, no, not those type of routines. I'm talking about routines that help to add value to your life, to move your life forward, amen, in a positive direction. So that could look like if you've been working on like a hobby, like say you're an artist and you're wanting to like draw more or get into other different art styles. Establish a routine around that so that way you can fit it into your day. So that way you can get that work in, that practice in. Anything that you can think of, even with the kids, right? Establishing and strengthening routines because when you end a relationship and someone leaves your life, especially if your kids, were cool with them or if it was their dad or whatever, and that relationship is is altered in some way, it not only affects you, it affects the kids too. So making sure that like if you guys did have any routines, like those don't change drastically. I know sometimes like it's gonna happen. I'll just run an example with me, like, dad was in charge of like the drop off and the pickups at school. And then once he wasn't here anymore, then I had to figure out something else. So that part of the routine did change, yes. So there may be minor changes or major changes that you have to navigate through. But at the end of the day, it's important to keep those routines or to establish a routine because the last thing that we want after a breakup, after a loss is for the chaos to take over. Amen. We don't want chaos and just craziness to take over our house and our routines to where like we're always disoriented every day, we're frazzled, we don't know which way is up. We don't want that. So if you can stick to a routine as much as possible for your life, anything that's going to help to add value, improve, move you guys in a forward direction, do that. Amen. And the next thing, finances. Stabilize your finances, mamas. This is going to be so important because you don't want to get into another relationship out of desperation because you need financial help. You never want to get in a relationship because you're lacking or you need something and you need another person to be able to XYZ in any aspect. That's not even just with money, right? So we never want to move into a relationship or start anything new out of a place of desperation, because then when you no longer need that anymore, then where does that leave you? Where does that leave the person that you're with now? So I never want us to get into a situation where we're just doing it because, like, they can help me with the bills. Well, what if you end up hitting the lottery or you end up getting a new job and you make six figures and you no longer need their help? And, you know, like, if you got into the relationship just because of that, then it's just bound to fail. Like, there wasn't a firm foundation for the relationship to stand on in the first place, and it's bound to fail. So we don't want that. And we don't want to get into relationships out of desperation just because like we feel lonely or, we don't want to be alone and we can't stand the idea of doing things by ourselves. That's why, going back to the last one, it's important to get to know yourself and find your sense of self in your season of singleness, because you have to be okay with being alone. You have to be okay with doing things by yourself in this season, because you want to be able to do this on your own. You want to be able to take care of yourself without needing anyone else to help take care of you. And that's going to be important because you could be single for a while. You could be single for a time. So you need to be able to be financially stable. So that way you can take care of you and your kids with no problem, even if that person decides to leave your life and doesn't want to help contribute financially or anything like that. Like, you got to be prepared for it either way. And that also looks like saving. So those extra funds that you were using to go towards like date nights and gifts and all that stuff, you could use that and put that towards like a savings account, for the holidays for the kids or a trip or, just extra odds and ends if you may need something like for the household or emergencies. Like, you could definitely do that. And that's another way too. You could stabilize your finances is just by redirecting that money that you were going to spend on that man, redirect it to savings or something else for the kids. Anything like that is helpful. But above all else, mamas, I just want us to make sure that we're financially okay by ourselves. So that way, when we do start dating again and we do start looking like for potential partners, them being able to take care of us financially is not like the first thing on our list, because we can financially take care of ourselves. Amen. To have them added on is a bonus, but at the end of the day, we still want to be able to handle it on our own if we had to. Amen. And then strengthening of stability. So what that means to me is just making sure like our home is calm, chaos free, stress free, and just stabilizing like home base and stabilizing your foundation. And this is especially like if you had someone living with you and they're no longer there anymore, making sure that like you're curating a space for yourself where it's comfortable for you. When you come home to it at night, like, you find peace, you find comfort, your kids find comfort. So however that looks for you, if that means like, you know, not having any of their stuff in the house anymore, clearing all that out, changing the color of your room, changing the furniture, changing the feng shui of the room, all that stuff. Like, that's what that means. So again, getting back to your sense of self, getting back to what makes you more comfortable and makes you that individual that's not attached to that other person anymore. The person who like doesn't have to share things, the person who doesn't have to compromise. Like, who's that person? stabilize your home and get back to that person so you can be your most comfortable and your most authentic self in your space. Amen. And then the last thing that I would suggest that you do while you're still single, if you're into it, and not even while you're still single and beyond, even if you're in a relationship or not, is to, you already know, spend time with God. Amen. Lean on your faith. Amen. So that could look like daily prayer. It could look like journaling, going to church, um, anything that draws you closer to God and encourages you to lean on your faith, do that. Because y'all already know, like everything that I do, like I do my best to put God at the center of when it comes to raising my kids, when it comes to me, myself, and then also too in the new relationship that I'm in, like I include God in all of that. I talk to God about all of it. And that's really been my saving grace over these last 4 years of being a widow is my faith and me leaning on God when I can't see a way out, or I can't see how things are going to work out, or I can't see how I can, move on and be with someone else and, be able to love anybody else. Like I turn to God in those moments and it's truly, truly changed my life. It's saved my life. And I would highly recommend 10 out of 10 would recommend. So, if that's you and, God is your bag, use this time to get closer to him. Use this time to get to know him and understand him and his word and understand the way that he loves you as his daughter. And then also too, if you've been in a season of singleness for a while and you've been praying for a man to come into your life and your kid's life, um, one last thing I would suggest is that you wait well for what you pray for. And what that means is that in addition to, asking God and putting your petition out there, make sure you're doing the things that that man would appreciate from his partner. Um so that could look like, making sure you have a clean space and making sure you're taking care of yourself, not only on the outside, but on the inside too, taking care of yourself mentally, spiritually. Um, and making sure that you're the perfect match for the man that you're praying for. Amen. Making sure that you're the woman that the type of man that you want to attract will want to be with. And that's how you can wait well for what you pray for while you're in your season of singleness. And yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that. Amen. So, so I hope that this was helpful for all my single mamas out there. I'm going to go ahead and land the plane here. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed today's episode or found it helpful, please do not forget to share it with another mama who you also would think would find it helpful. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at motherhood_is ghetto. Also, follow me on TikTok at motherhood_is ghetto. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please do not forget to hit the follow so that way you're notified every time I upload a new podcast episode. And lastly, if you're watching this on YouTube, hey mama, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and subscribe and join the hood. Amen. I'd love to have you. And thank you so much for tuning in again. And until next time, mamas. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Don't forget to follow the podcast and share with anyone who you think may enjoy it. And follow me on Instagram at motherhood_is ghetto. Also, feel free to DM me if you have any experiences, opinions, or views on motherhood you'd like me to share on the podcast. Until next time, mamas.